Okay, this is going to be going over programming on the Triumph instrument PRC 152. I know one of the first things everyone's probably thinking about is wanting to hook up to the computer and program this, kind of like a Baofeng radio with chirp software. No way to do it. Someone out there a lot smarter than me could probably do a pinout on the side, figure out what's the data connection, and either make or figure out what software is used, configure chirp. That's a little beyond. Anyway, so I'm going to go over how to program in a simplex frequency, program in like a standard repeater, and then how to save them. Normally when you turn on your radio, like if you didn't already mess with it and do stuff with it, it's going to look similar to what you see on the screen. I've manually locked on the backlight just so it's going to be easier for you to see what I'm doing on the screen. So first thing I'm going to go over is programming in just a regular radio frequency, nothing special. I'm going to do the FRS channel 2. I already have FRS channel 1 programmed into the radio, into the channel memory 1 slot. One thing to note is how you have the two different lines. If you program in a channel and save it up on line number 1 as, say, channel number 1, that is not going to be the channel number 1 down here. So you actually have double the amount of channel memories because each line is different. Now where that gets annoying is, say that you wanted to use that same channel down on line number 2, you need to program in that channel down here as well. FRS channel 2 frequency is 462562550. So that's programmed in and you could transmit on that. If you were doing something a little more fancy, like doing some sort of squelch tones and all that stuff that's a little more high speed, which I'm not really going to talk about, you'd also put that in if you wanted to change your transmit power, whatever the case may be. Change that before saving the channel. So to save the channel, you're going to go into menu, so hit enter, enter again, and then you're going to scroll up to option 17 and hit enter. Now you need to do this stuff kind of quickly, otherwise it'll time out. So I already have one saved in channel slot 2, or channel slot 1, so we're going to move up to 2. Hit enter again. So this is where you're going to put in what your name is. So to start the first character, hit plus. You'll see that it starts flashing. Then use your arrows to start moving through the characters. So I'm going to name this one. To move to the next character, hit that plus again. Then when you're finished, hit enter. So it's saved. Clear gets you out of the menu. So it's still going to be in VFO mode. So to get out of VFO mode, the quick menu option for that is hit enter and 1. That first puts you then into channel mode, but it's still going to show you frequencies. Enter again. See now how it says FRS 1, and then you can scroll through your channels. There's FRS 2. Now, it's kind of funny that this just happened to me. It was one of the things I wanted to point out in the videos. For some reason, every once in a while, after programming in a new channel, I noticed when I was messing around, the radio actually just froze on me. When you scroll to the end, normally what happens is it'll bring you back to, say, even if I was on channel like say 60, and I get to the end, it would bring me back to 1. After programming in a new channel and scrolling to the end, I've had it freeze on me a couple of times. You have to turn the radio off and then back on. I have no idea why it's done that to me. But anyway, so that's how you save the channel. And it's really nice that you can put a name to it, and there's a fair amount of characters on there. One thing that you want to just make sure that you do is you don't save over a channel that you've already programmed. If you go back and say you were inputting your frequency and you were like, ah, crap, I don't know what channels I have open. If you exit VFO mode and you go into your channel mode, see, it didn't freeze on me that time, and you get to 2, and you say, all right, I'm back to 1, so I know that my first open channel is 3, you can go back into the VFO mode, and it's going to remember the last thing that you put in the VFO mode, and then you can go through the process that I just showed without losing everything that you just put in, but go through your channel mode and see where your last open channel was. The next thing, which is a little bit more complicated, is putting in a repeater. So the way I've been using is I've been putting in like simplex type channels up top, and then using my second line for more complex stuff like repeaters. So you can see the little arrow right there is showing that's what I'm on, and if I key out, it shows me keying out on that Family Radio Service 1. It's going to move me down to that. Now I'm on VFO right now. A repeater is a little bit more complicated, and it took me a little bit to figure out because the way the menu is set up in this is obviously a little bit different than what is in, say, a Baofeng radio. Same idea is you're going to have to figure out your frequencies and stuff like that. I'm going to do a repeater that I know is close by to my location right now. First thing you're going to start off with, again, is make sure you're in VFO mode, and you got to figure out what your downlink frequency is, or the receiving frequency. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. So put in my receiving frequency. The next thing that you're going to do, figure out what your offset type is. So the offset type on this one is a plus. So you're going to go into your menu, and it's option 14, SFT, pick positive. While you're here, then scroll up to 15, and you're going to put what the offset frequency is. Like all the other inputs on the frequencies, you have to follow through and fill in every character. So on this one, it's 5 megahertz. So saved it. Next is going to be uplink tones or transmit tones, downlinks, uplinks. There's a bunch of different things people will call them. Some only have either an uplink or a downlink. Some have both. They might get more complicated, but this one, and this kind of threw me off a little bit. Now that we put those in, we gotta scroll back up. And the first one is menu option number 1 for RCTS. And that's gonna be your receive tone. Obviously it's set to off, and you can scroll through. And on the particular repeater, it is 82.5. So you scroll through until you get to that, 82.5. Enter. That's programmed in. Then menu option transmit tone. Enter. And on this particular repeater, it's the same tone, 82.5. Enter. Now the transmit power is on high. Now while you're in this, what you should end up seeing is that when you key out, you can see down there that it's showing that the plus. When you key out, you should see the 5 plus adjustment happen. So I might not actually be able to reach the repeater from here right now. I'm also inside a brick building, as you can see by the back wall. But anyway, that's how you program in the repeater. To make sure that I'm not going to save over a channel down here, I'll go and hit enter and check to see how many channels I have. So channel 3 is my next open one, so I'll go back to this and go through saving a channel again, and you could watch. there it is. But anyway, so that's simple programming stuff. Real quickly here, I just wanted to show that I did indeed program the repeater in properly. You can see it did give me feedback. I was just in a horrible spot. Just a couple little things. I'm sure there's 100 other things that I'm going to realize with this as I go through and use it. There's a fast key for changing your power. You hit enter in 7. It doesn't work, unfortunately, when you're in channel mode. So you'd have to go back to VFO mode. You can see it shows power there, and it goes to low. Then you'd have to go back into channel mode. I don't know why they did that. I think that that's really stupid. That's a firmware issue. I would love to find someone who's smart and can make a USB and get something to download the firmware out of this and modify it, because it seems like there's firmware glitches in this. Another thing is on the 220 to 259 megahertz and the 330 to 370 megahertz, you can only use low power. This does have an FM radio tuner in it. It acts weird. I'm just gonna say that for now. I'm gonna cover that a little bit later. It also has an AM radio tuner in it for like aircraft frequencies. I haven't learned a whole lot about that. There's a fast key to it, enter in 3, and it'll bring it up. I'm gonna cover more on that on like the additional features video. The other thing that I noticed too was down here it's showing that like you have a positive offset for a repeater, but then if I'm scrolling through the channels, and like for example on this one I call it Wooloo A because it's for my home intercom system, the positive offset is not on there and it still shows it down there. But I mean, I'm not near my home intercom, but if I was to key out and talk, it works and it's not offsetting. So it's weird that it shows that. So the reason why it shows that symbol still down there is because it shows that information from what is put into the VFO mode. I don't know why it does that, but it does that. Again, it's a firmware glitch. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. If there's a detail that I missed, again, I really like everyone's feedback. I'm trying to get more accessories that are real 152 accessories to try with this. I'm gonna try to integrate this into my M1078 LMTV a little bit more. All kinds of other cool stuff. But yeah.